Hello, world. Welcome. My name is Dr. Mithun Paul Saint-Germain. I am a professor at the Northern Arizona University. My specialization is in artificial intelligence. I also do research in a very cutting edge field known as quantum AI or quantum natural language processing. So, why am I here? I am here to bring before you a very cutting edge invention. It's called Kalista. And what we claim is Kalista is a tool that can create 100% robust and precise enterprise level code, generate it in minutes, right? 100% precise. Now, don't believe me. Let's have a look at what it can do. So here, let's look at the typical kind of an enterprise resource planning software setup. So an enterprise resource software is what these big companies, like non-software companies, let's say manufacturing, like maybe Caterpillar or one of the big four, the auditing giants, or even like banks, like fintech, right? They all use something called enterprise resource planning software, which in short is a tool that is used to guide their actual processes. Could be manufacturing, meeting clients in fintech, or keeping track of the clients, the whole shebang. So an ERP document or software is very important for these companies because almost in every single quarter, a new enterprise resource planning software is needed, or a lot of advances, addendum, or modification to the existing software is needed because requirements keep changing. The clients keep changing. There's a lot of innovations coming in. They always want to add these innovations. So we recently created this product for a manufacturing giant and also one of the big four giants, whose names I cannot say, sorry, because of non-disclosure agreement. But for this demo, I will quickly take a typical case. So this is enterprise resource planning and production control software. Typically, this was created for a manufacturing client, right? So what they do here is they want a software typically which can keep track of a lot of things from scratch, including the list of products that they want to show to the client. And maybe the client is going to give them an order. So they want the order to be processed. They want to process the cost. There is an inventory, there is packaging, there's admin and security. There is a whole list of things that they require typically so that this process can be very, very precisely and robustly um, taken when their actual clients comes to them. So what they do is they typically go to a software company, it's like an outsourcing software company like Infosys or Tata Consultancy Services, and they outsource this to them saying, hey, so can you develop this software for us? So that is when these companies come in, and there is typical a process known as software development lifecycle, which many of you will be familiar with. In this software development lifecycle, the first step is called planning. This is the time, like immediately after a purchase order comes from the manufacturing client to Infosys, for example, they put a team together, the planning team, which is like managers and a bunch of technical people, and they start doing a planning, which is like on this day we start the project, and at this day we plan to deliver it. And typically they say, uh, tell the client this will be done in usually 6 months, but things go all the way up to 3 years. And how do I know that? Between me and my co-founder, co-inventor, we spent 40 plus years in the software industry doing exactly this, right? So many of you in the software industry might know this, like typical software as a service or a service software takes anything between 6 months to 3 years, best case, right? So anyway, coming back to steps of software development lifecycle, the very first step is when all the um, big heads, big wigs sit together and create a plan. Failing to plan is planning to fail, so they create a plan. Next step is known as analysis. This is the step when they send one person out from their team to the client side. And the person is basically typically a business analyst, and his job is to go be with the client, what we call on-site, spend some time with the client, might be weeks or up to months, depending on the requirements. And his job is to capture the requirement from the client, the requirement that they want in their enterprise level software to the minutest detail possible. And typically in every software development lifecycle stage, there are these certain documents. These are standard documents that is created. The very first stage, or the second stage in this case, the analysis stage, that is where this is known as the requirement analysis or information research, where the business analyst keeps talking to the client and at the very eagle eye level produces a document known as business requirement specification, BRS or BRD, which is business requirement document that it is typically called. This business requirement document, then he converts it into something called software requirement specification, SRS. In short, here is a requirement for all the manufacturing level clients. What software should it be using? Now, once that analysis is done, which, like I said, typically takes at least a month, if not three, that once that analysis is done, it's handed over to a design team, like a technical architect. Now, the technical architect or technology specialist comes in and start designing the software. So he starts creating something known as high-level design, detail-level design. There's a long list of these documents, UML and DDL, which is data definition language, etc. Now, that is the next stage where they plan and really design the software. Let's say, takes a month. So now this is total, let's say, 2 months, right? Best case. Now it's the whole design is handed over to a huge software team whose job is to implement it, a collection of software engineers. So let's say they take another month, 1 month, right? So they created the tool and then they hand over the tool to a testing and integration team. They do thorough testing, comparing especially to the business requirements. And the testing teams gives, okay, let's say another month, and hands over to a maintenance team who goes into the client side, integrates it, and then maintains it from there on. Like I said, best case 6 months, right? And trust me, it's never 6 months. It usually ranges minimum 1 year, up to 3 because of back and forth and budget changes and stuff. But again, don't take my word, ask around what they do. We are claiming that we can do this in minutes. That is the entire software development lifecycle for an enterprise level client. We are not going to do it in years, not in months, not in weeks, not in hours, but in minutes. Pretty big claim, I know, and that's why we call it earth shattering. But again, don't believe us, right? So let's start. Let's start with the very first document. So let's assume that we have the person is there already in the client side, and he has given us a requirement document. This is how a typical requirement document looks like. So there's a dev team, which is a business analyst, and we talk to the customer team, like who is known as the business owner from the side of the customer. They go through all these discussions, and like typically they say, hey, we are this client, we work in these geographies. Again, NDA stuff, I cannot reveal who the client was for us. And then they say, hey, we want a program which captures our daily processing. For example, our program should have a standard security module, which means we have 50,000 employees. We want it to be, every employee should have their own authentication, authorization, permissions, etc. We want to have a client module where we keep track of the clients. Then we have a buyer module who is the sub-client or the person from the client side who is actually buying our product. We have a huge amount of business logic, which creates rates and all those stuff. We want order management. And typically these documents range from like 9 to 10 or 10, 20 pages, right? Now, what we are claiming is just with this document alone, we are going to create an entire enterprise level software. Like I said, minutes is the claim. Let's see how this goes. I'm going to start a stopwatch, and the irony of starting a stopwatch is there. So, okay, let's select an app. What is this? Never mind. I don't know what that is doing. All right. So I am going back to our tool. Oops. All right. The tool is, so I'm running this in Windows for a second. This is actually the software is tool operating system agnostic, but this is the first path. So we just picked up Windows-based machines because 30-35% of the enterprises use Windows-based software stacks. All right, let's start. And we have a stopwatch running there. So it's going to be a little slow since it's on a virtual machine. Okay, it's showing something. Pardon and bear with us for the slow loading. So we am sitting inside a knife. So wait, wait, wait. I promise there's something going to come up. Okay, welcome to the demo of Kalista. That's the name of our tool. It's named after my beautiful dog, Kalista, typically our boss and who runs the house and the company. So let's start. Let's take the user requirement documents. Let's provide that, the one I showed you. Let's hand it over to the machine. So we're uploading that here. And we're going to say generate BRD or business requirement documents from this requirements document. So this is where the monkeys in the background are typing Shakespearean novels, typical comment on the software engineering side. And there's a lot of these things happening in the background, which is causing this to run, right? So now, clearly, we are not telling you all this because that's our secret sauce. So it says BRD generated and saved to output /step1/brd.md. So let's go find output /step1. Let's look at the timestamp. Okay, 5:13 p.m. September 5th, 5:13 p.m. September 5th. And let's see what this file looks like. I'm gonna open it, Visual Studio. Okay, this is how typically a BRD looks like, right? So the BRD, for example, says business requirement documents, project overview, high-level requirements. This is what the client wants. This is how the GUI should look like, etc. Okay, so let's go back and look at it. Okay, here we are. It says our machine has generated a BRD. Now we're going to the next step. And the next step is here, we are generating, we'll say, let me click on this, generate DDL, which is data definition language. And like I said, there is a whole long list of documents which are being created in the background internally, but we're just directly jumping to DDL for the sake of this demo. And DDL is data definition language. So let's go output /step2/DDL. Step 1, go back up 1, and step 2. There's a document ddl.md. Let's look at the timestamp 5:14 p.m. 5:14 p.m. So it was just created fresh out of the oven. So let's see, open with same thing. This is Visual Studio. I'm going to just show you what this is. So this is how it looks like. Quick. So this is essentially an SQL-based function which has just created all the data definition language, which is tables, users, roles, etc. Right? So remember, our system is so powerful enough that it understood everything in the requirement documents, and it has started generating till the software, the SQL level database tables. Now, sorry, at least the code for that. Now we're going to use that code and generate the actual database, right? So our tool internally just generates the whole database. It's creating tables, primary keys, finalizing schema. Database creation completed. Let's have a look at the database. Okay, so here, there you go. So this database is currently in MS Access, but like I said, this is a small scale demo, just we are creating in a small machine, but we have created this for the entire enterprise using a big SQL system. But the main point is now, as you can see, all the required database level tables have been automatically created. Buyers, clients, this is how the GUI should look like. This is how my orders, order status, etc., etc. Right? So this is the just created in MS Access, right? So now let's quickly just close this guy and go to the next step, which is go to step 4, which is Let's click yes. Generate code, right? So remember, we just created the code, just created the database, not the code itself. So let's click on generate code. The sequence of steps, and now we open up our workhorse. It's called Code Factory, the real code generating engine in there. So what we do here is at the very first step, we select something known as metadatabase. And this metadatabase is one of our secret sauces. Again, a lot of secret sauces that we have added in the whole place. Um, it's all our intellectual property, so sorry, I cannot talk more about that. So that is the first thing we select. The next thing we're going to select is the actual database, the one which was just created. So let's go look at this one, the demo one, which we just created. Database, okay. Then click on connect to it. So as you can see, the tables which we just created are showing up here. Same thing, buyers, clients, etc. Let's go to the next step. So step 3 to step 8 are optional. These are where we start defining and cleaning up if you as a human wants to do some sort of a modification to what the machine has generated. This is your chance. Now, at least at the database level, right? So you can go through this, create data, create metadata. What are the tables? If the tables has, okay, this table type is here. What are the primary key, etc., etc. So like I said, these are optional for human in the loop. It is always better with AI. We don't want to completely hand it over. And like I said, this is next level. This is quantum AI, quantum NLP. So it's a combination of a lot of amazing cutting edge technology, or I want to say bleeding edge or avant-garde. So again, like a lot of these changes, do you want the function name to be different? Do you want function ID to be different, etc., etc.? Now we come to the main part. We are going to generate code, right? This is the actual business logic, the entire middleware, GUI, all of it. So I'm going to create that in a C new folder. Let's call it generated underscore code. Okay. So generation underscore code, click OK. Okay, C generated underscore code, click generate code, right? So currently we are selected on, oh wait, this is just telling me finish generating it. So we are creating it in our click is on buyers, right? They are selected buyers. Let's go back and have a look at the new folder we created. Let's see, generated code created at 5:18 p.m., 5:19 p.m. Let's go inside. And you can see that the entire logic, what the client wanted, has been now converted to various levels of programs. This is middle layer, business logic. The whole thing has been captured. And as you can see, the timestamp is 580. So let's start. Let's have a look at this. Right? What does it look like? So this one, if you open with Visual Studio, our tool is so capable and so precise that it starts creating the entire public, like the variables, the required client ID, all of these things are created automatically. And as you can see, within minutes. Now, you might ask, hey, but that's only the buyer, right? So how about orders? So again, you don't have to take it one by one. I'm just keep doing that for the sake of the demo. Click on generate order code. So there you go. The orders, right? So how do these orders look like? So remember, they all come with all the 4 or 5 layers, which is UI. There is all these classes, the classes and the forms for that. So your entire software is just already getting created with one click of a button. So let's open this also. How does it look like? The standard stuff, 100% precise, robust. It's gone through everything from the requirement documents, has created the code here, so on and so forth. And the last part we have left for the client is typically what we do is, at least in this pass, the GUI, the bells and whistles, the good looking or how the client wants the GUI part. So remember, the GUI itself is created, the classes and stuff. But let's say you want a web GUI, desktop, a phone-based app. That is the part where we go to the client and say, hey, what do you want? What colors do you want? What do you want it to look like? As you can see, except GUI, this is 95, 98% of the entire code, and not even GUI, like GUI is already here for each of the modules. So except the color and the bells and whistles, our tool just generated for you an entire enterprise level code in 10 minutes and 9 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next generation of code generation. Well, that came up very well. Welcome to the next level, cutting edge, the best thing since sliced bread and canned beer in enterprise software development. Clearly, I'm not a marketing person. Um, this is the power of NLP, the natural language processing, which, as you know, drives the current artificial intelligence based large language models, and the power of combining it with something known as quantum natural language processing, an extremely cutting edge field um, created by our company, Kalista Quantum.ai. And these are the tools we have been looking at, like Cursor, Lovable, Devin, and the whole list of tools who claim to be able to do generating software. One, we haven't seen anything which generates enterprise level code. Not even if it does, it wasn't 100% robust, not definitely from a requirements document, and above all, not in minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce Kalista Quantum AI and our beautiful software to you. Hope we start using this everywhere. Bye.